Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of D&D Creature Feature. This is the show where I read you a Dungeons & Dragons based creepypasta, and at the end of the video you're gonna get something from that creepypasta, which is most often the stat block of a monster, for absolutely free. But before you can intently listen to my insane ramblings, you gotta know who these two characters on screen are. Their names are Edgar and Valorie. They're a pair of adopted siblings. Edgar is a chthonic tiefling, College of Spirits bard, and Valorie is an infernal tiefling, College of Lore bard. Also, it would be helpful for you to know that all these stories are technically interconnected, and you should probably watch the last video I uploaded in this series. It's called Surgical Procedures. That is gonna help you greatly understand what's going on. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Cycles. Valorie and I awoke in a small, windowless room with only a single door. And I had a terrible headache.
Ed, what is happening?
Val asked tiredly, looking at me with half-opened eyes. I don't... Oh crap, I think that Dr. Bonecarver kidnapped us or something. I loudly exhaled as the memories of the previous events came flooding back to me.
Do you think he's gonna kill us now?
Val stuttered nervously. To be honest, I have no clue, I murmured anxiously. Right after I had finished speaking, the both of us heard an extremely loud voice echoing through the room. Greetings, this is Dr. Bonecarver speaking. I'm telepathically communicating with you as to not alarm the creature of my presence. You may now step through the door and describe to me what you see. My sister and I looked at each other flabbergasted. Then I responded, but can't the thing hear us if we start describing the room? The doctor hesitated for a bit before mumbling, well, just talk quietly or something, I guess. I shrugged, motioning to Valorie to follow me as I swung the door open. When I stepped out of the little room and regarded my new surroundings, I was amazed. I was standing in the entrance hall of a huge fancy mansion with checkered marble flooring, fancy carpets, and intricate stained glass windows. What stood out was that the whole building appeared as if it was painted in sepia tone. Well, how does it look? I heard Bonecarver's voice ring in my head.
We're in this really damn big mansion right now,
I began whispering before hearing Martin Bonecarver mutter curse words under his breath.
Is that a bad thing?
I asked, but the doctor didn't respond at all. I rolled my eyes and turned to Valorie. Great. Really freaking great. How does this guy expect us to do anything if he won't communicate with us? I gurgled. Why don't we stop following the orders of the crazy organ trafficker freak and instead concentrate on finding a way out of here? Val suggested with a very sarcastic tone in her voice. After she said that, I face-palmed embarrassingly hard for literally blindly following the orders of the maniac who abducted us. Okay, but we can't exit through the front doors, since those just apparently lead to that tiny room. Maybe we can try exiting through the window? I thought aloud. Valorie then began to pull a clothes rack in the direction of the window and using it to smash the expensive crystalline pane. The sound of shattering glass filled the air, and it was a bit louder than I was comfortable with. So, let's get out of this Oh, Val exclaimed, gazing out of the shattered window. I ran up to her to see for myself what had lured this reaction out of her, and was greeted with a fairly horrifying sight. The mansion appeared to be floating in mid-air, surrounded by some kind of infinite spiral made from an inky black substance. Hastily, I turned my head away from the hollow void, nearly vomiting from the strange sight. But right when I did that, I swore I could have seen a black shape in the corner of my eye. For some reason, I was feeling a slight bit weaker than before.
Well then, since that didn't work out, how about we find some kind of back door or something like that?
I shared my next idea, since jumping out of the window was kind of out of the question.
Hate to break it to you, brother, but I don't think there even is a way to exit if we're just stuck in the middle of some massive, inky whirlwind,
Val informed me. I started to rack my brain, trying to think of what to do, when the familiar voice of Dr. Bonecarver appeared in our heads again. Okay, so you wanna sneak around the mansion and tell me if you find something out of the ordinary. Maybe start with walking up the grand staircase and searching the individual rooms.
Are you kidding me? What do you plan on doing with us? How can we leave?
My sister responded to the telepathic message. Just walk around and look for the creature, alright? If you survive, I'll even let you leave, the doctor explained. We didn't really have any other options, and since escaping didn't seem all that possible at the moment, we actually followed his commands. My sister and I slowly made our way up to the wide stone staircase with elegant golden railings. Its large form almost appeared to be taunting us. At the top of the stairs, we were presented with a long, damp hallway covered in cobwebs and with a humongous assortment of doors to enter.
What even is this creature we're supposed to be looking for?
Valorie asked.
I don't know, mayhaps some kind of eldritch horror beyond comprehension?
I said, half jokingly, strolling through the hallway and eventually opening one of the doors. We stepped through and found ourselves in some kind of trophy room that had the heads of many monstrosities proudly on display. But my heart stopped when I saw two of the trophies that hung over an extinguished fireplace. They were the heads of humanoids. More specifically, two tieflings, one with blue and the other with scarlet skin. They looked like our heads, only horribly mutilated with glassy eyes that looked as if they were directly staring at us. Hey Val, what do you make of this? I started, motioning her to look at the heads. Just then, I felt a droplet of liquid land on my shoulder. Upon further inspection, I saw that the droplet was pitch black. And when I looked up to the ceiling, I saw something terrifying. I started to rack my brain, trying to think of what to do, when the familiar voice of Dr. Bonecarver appeared in our heads again. Well, that didn't go quite as expected. Just repeat that and try avoiding the trophy room.
Are you kidding me? What do you plan on doing with us? How can we leave?
My sister responded to the telepathic message.
Also, repeat what?
I asked.
Break the window?
The doctor fell silent for a minute before I heard him muttering, "That psychotic little never mind. Just walk up the staircase, look for the creature, and don't enter the trophy room." We didn't really have any other options, and since escaping didn't seem all that possible at the moment, we actually followed his commands. My sister and I slowly made our way up the wide stone staircase with elegant golden railings. Its large form almost appeared to be taunting us. At the top of the stairs, we were presented with a long, damp hallway covered in cobwebs and with a humongous assortment of doors to enter.
What even is this creature we're supposed to be looking for?
Valorie asked.
I don't know. Mayhaps some kind of eldrich horror beyond comprehension,
I said, half-jokingly, strolling through the hallway and eventually opening one of the doors. And just as luck would have it, it looked to be the exact room that Martin warned us about. So we slammed the door shut and opened the door opposite to it, even though my head suddenly began to hurt a little. This other room was furnished with many wooden bookshelves, a carpeted floor, and a rocking chair. But the perplexing thing about this scene was that there was a person sitting in the chair. It was a pale young woman wearing a black dress and with a large bow tie in her hair. She turned to look at us, and I noticed that some kind of black, inky liquid was dripping from her eyes, nose, and mouth. "Act natural," I heard Martin Bonecarver's voice booming in my head. The woman elegantly stood up from her seat and slowly walked towards us.
Greetings, my friends. I presume you have come to attend our little ball?
The lady asked in a particularly soft and gentle voice. Why, yes, of course, I answered with a forced smile on my face, staring at the black liquid that was running down the woman's dress.
Wonderful! The ballroom is at the end of the hallway. Enjoy yourselves and say hello to George and his husband for me.
She gleefully giggled. Val and I nervously shook our heads and slowly backed out of the room, the lady striding towards her chair again. "What the Demogorgon just happened?" I shouted after Val had closed the door. "The people here are long dead," the doctor's voice said. "The creature is puppeteering them, and if you step out of line, it'll be informed of your presence and kill you." Crazy, I nervously scoffed.
I suppose we go to this ball and look for the creature there?
Val suggested, and I agreed with her. We walked to the end of the hallway, like the lady said, and entered the ballroom. I froze as I saw that this room was filled to the brim with people covered in that pitch black fluid. "Oh boy," I quietly mumbled before walking into the crowd along with my sister. After a while of walking around the room, we were suddenly stopped by a man in a regal suit that also had the inky substance dripping from his eyes. "Why, hello there," he growled. "It's not often we get new guests. Say, what brings you here?" Directly after he said that, black tentacles began emerging from the floor, pulling me to the ground. I was shivering with fear as the man leaned over me. "The creature is trying to trick you. You've got to act naturally," Martin's panicked voice emanated in my head. "Well, I stuttered after seeing that Val was also in the grip of the inky appendages. The tentacles began to pierce my skin, digging themselves into my flesh, and soon I couldn't take it anymore and let out a scream. "Well, crap," I heard Martin Bonecarver mumble as all the people in the room fell limp to the ground and the black liquid splattered all over the place. And then I saw it. The door we had entered from creaked open, and a dark silhouette crawled into the room. It was a quadrupedal creature with really long, thin legs. The monster was covered in some kind of tattered black cloth and appeared to have a beak, its eyes glowing blindingly white, and were shaped like diamonds. The creature growled and then spat the same inky liquid on me and Val. I felt my flesh beginning to corrode and my skin flaking off. When I stepped out of the little room and regarded my new surroundings, I was amazed. I was standing in the entrance hall of a huge, fancy mansion with checkered marble flooring, fancy carpets, and intricate stained glass windows, even if one of them was broken for some reason. What stood out was that the whole building appeared as if it was painted in sepia tone. Oh my god, this thing is repulsive. I heard Bonecarver's voice ring in my head.
What thing are you talking about? We just stepped out of that little chamber,
I began whispering, before hearing Martin Bonecarver mutter curse words under his breath.
What is going on here?
I asked, but the doctor didn't respond at all. Val tapped me on the shoulder with her index finger and motioned me to look up. My blood froze when I saw that the ceiling of the mansion was covered in massive amounts of some kind of black sludge, slowly dripping on the floor, and several dead bodies with their eyes and insides removed were glued to the inky substance. Okay, now, I know this looks bad, Martin's voice stammered, but you have to act normal. The creature can sense you if you break its cycle. I didn't even fully listen to the words of the doctor. I simply stared at the gore and stood in the middle of the hall as if I was petrified. Ed, I think I found the creature that the doctor was referring to. Val stuttered, gazing off to a corner of the room. I yanked my eyes off the violence on the ceiling, and afterwards witnessed something arguably worse. It was a quadrupedal creature, with really long, thin legs. The monster was covered in some kind of tattered black cloth, and appeared to have a beak. Its eyes glowed blindingly white, and were shaped like diamonds. The unknowable beast lunged at us with incredible speed and dug the razor-sharp teeth that it was concealing in its beak directly into my left forearm, covering it in the black fluid before tearing it off. I screamed in agonizing pain, coughing up the same dark substance before turning my head to Valorie and realizing that her fate was no better. "Brother, let's kill this thing," she said, eagerly charging at the horrid monster and casting Tasha's hideous laughter on it. It began to let out terrifying noises that could only loosely be described as laughing. Our opponent was now weakened, and thus I began to rapidly kick it until its head exploded into mucus. After our battle was won, Martin's voice appeared yet again. "Haha, you did it! The creature is dead! I'm sorry for the kidnapping. I promise that I'll let you free this instant." The front doors of the mansion swung open, and Dr. Bonecarver himself stepped into the sepia-toned building. Wow, its domain has really grown over the last few months. It's so strange seeing this mansion again after what happened here. I could hear him mumble. He guided us into the small room that we woke up in, and revealed yet another secret door to us. "You two are free to go. How may I ever repay you for finally killing the creature that ruined my life and consumed my future?" he gleefully asked. A wide grin appeared on mine and Valerie's faces. "How's George?" I asked the doctor. "Well, how do you know about him?" he nervously interrogated us. At this point, I must confess that I've been a relatively unreliable narrator. Edgar and Valorie died the moment they were bitten, and their bodies are now part of my hive mind. Unimaginable horror appeared on Martin's face
when my true quadrupedal form exited the mansion and began to cackle. I honestly thought that he would recognize that I can't be killed this easily. I spoke in the intelligent, charismatic voice that I was hiding until now. You can speak? The terrified doctor shouted, as the black ichor began leaking from the eyes and mouths of my two new tiefling vessels. I ripped apart that sad idiot, and soon after, he also joined my hive mind. And thanks to these 3 fools, I am finally free and may now infect the entire universe. I will be omnipotent! See you soon.
Real quickly, the next section contains spoilers as to what this monster is and how to defeat it. So if you're a Dungeons & Dragons player and you want to encounter this in your campaign, consider sharing this video with your DM. Alright, thank you.
The miasma is a creature of unknown origins. Some claim that it is a fragment of a much larger, almost godlike entity that controls the minds of every other living being residing in its plane of origin and has now sent an aspect of itself to overthrow the material plane. Others say that the beast was created by researchers or spellcasters who longed for immortality and conjured up a being of pure malice as a result of their ambitions and lust for power and knowledge. The only thing that everyone lucky enough to survive an encounter with the miasma can agree on is that it is a horrifyingly cunning predator that will consciously manipulate, deceive, and systematically break its victims. The miasma has 2 main abilities that make it such a deadly foe to deal with. The first of which being that its regular 4-legged animalistic form is certainly never the only one it has at a given time. The creature is a hive mind that latches onto the dead bodies of those that were unfortunate enough to be bitten by the miasma or otherwise had the black ichor it produces injected into their bloodstream. Any being that is part of the hive mind looks and acts virtually indistinguishable to how it looked and acted before its death, when the miasma makes no effort to conceal itself within them and the miasma absorbs all their memories and thus knows everything about them. The second ability is to mess with its prey by influencing their memories and trapping them in cycles, forcing them to repeat anything over and over again, therefore creating a scenario dangerously similar to a time loop, but with the added benefit that the world around them is mostly unaffected by this, and the miasma can sense its victims and cause it to experience incredible psychological pain if the victim attempts to break out of the cycle. The miasma is always scheming and will not rest until it has assimilated every creature in existence. Here's the stat block and lair actions for the miasma. I hope you have fun with it. Yeah, that was basically it for this episode of D&D Creature Feature. I hope y'all liked the miasma. It's a CR15 creature with lair actions and legendary actions. The first one I've made for this channel. And I don't know, I'm kind of proud of some of the abilities I came up with for it. And I hope you can use it in your games effectively. So, go out there, give Punxsutawney Phil some legendary actions, and scare your D&D players or something. Yeah, that was about it. Stay spooky, everyone. Peace out.